Well, hey friends, my name is Andrea. This is Journals for Breakfast, and you are so welcome here. Today I'm answering a question, which is how do I find time to journal every day? And I've already told you in the title card that the answer for me is not time management. So let's get to the answer quick. So if that's all you came here for, you can get your answer and move on. And then I want to talk about journals, journaling types, styles, some reasons people have given me for why they don't journal. And yeah, let's troubleshoot what's happening, especially if your journaling practice is kind of stuck right now. So how do I find time to journal every day? My answer is simple. I have a lot of journals, meaning a lot of different styles of journals. I give myself a very broad definition of what journaling is, what a journaling practice looks like. And because of that, there is always time in any given day, somewhere, morning, lunch, evening, at night, watching a baseball game with my husband, to do something that lands within my terminology of journaling. What do I consider journaling? Pen to paper, sticker to paper. As long as it's not digital in my world, it is journaling of some kind. So I maybe use digital for part of it. I looked up a affirmation for staying strong in a hard week. And then I wrote that affirmation down. Writing that little 2-sentence affirmation down was my journaling practice for that day. And if that's all I did that day, that's enough. I have a stack of journals in front of me that we can take a look at to talk about types of journals and what my varieties are. But the shortest answer to how I get journaling into my life every single day is that I give myself a broad spectrum of what journaling is. I don't set limits. I don't set rules. I don't tie it down to one specific type of thing. And yeah, it just gives me a lot of freedom to say, hey, I got some really cute washi this week and just put a bunch of sort of feel-good stickers all over my planner while we were watching a baseball game. That was journaling. So I think there's a lot of variety in journaling, and if we give ourselves permission to loosen the definition of that practice, then I think we find more time for it. And by loosening the definition, the location, the size of the journal, how big it is, if it's portable, if it can go with us to the coffee shop and we can jot something down while we're waiting for our order, or journaling. So yeah, that's the short answer. Now, I want to talk a little bit about why people tell me they don't journal or journaled and got away from it. Let's troubleshoot that a little bit. And then we'll do some overhead and we'll take a look at all the different journals that I'm in and out of right now, meaning at this moment in time, the stack of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 that I'm in and out of all the time right now, and why they serve me so well in that broad spectrum. So if that sounds appealing, grab something delicious to drink, and I'm gonna put the arms down so I can get comfy. And let's talk a little bit about journaling. I actually went onto my computer and looked up the definition of journaling just to see what would come up. And you know what? There were a lot of definitions. There were, let's see, personal record of events, a newspaper, a periodical, part of a machine is called a journal. I did not know that. There are a lot of definitions for journaling. And I think that I've always been careful when I mention that I'm a journaler to follow that up with the fact that I do a lot of different types of journaling and hope that I can inspire people who are asking me about journaling to consider that there is a wide variety out there. For people who tell me personally, in my experience, that they're stuck or got stuck or journaled and got out of it or wanted to journal and then couldn't push through, typically, now this is just a generalization, but typically the journaling they were attempting or had done or thought they were going to do is what I could call kind of Dear Diary style journaling, where we work very honestly on paper about our deepest feelings, maybe resentments, maybe things that we feel uncomfortable saying out loud, or just simply don't have anyone to say these things out loud to. So we're going to put them on paper and sort through some of our demons, you know, this kind of heavy space. I want to say that that is a very valuable type of journaling, by the way, and of the stacks of journals I have going, I have one of those. But it is not the only type of journaling, not by a long shot. And to be honest with you, it's so heady. That kind of therapeutic style Dear Diary, it's so revealing. It's so personal that in all honesty, of all my journaling practices, if there's a pie in front of me, it's one of the smallest wedges of the type of journaling I do daily. That type of journaling has been very beneficial for me as I've sorted through problems in my past. And I do use it specifically for that. If I have an issue, that's the kind of journaling I do to help myself resolve that issue. But fortunately in life, we're not always bogged down with heavy duty issues. So I don't need it every day, thank goodness. And even when I'm in the midst of using that type of journal to resolve kind of a big problem, I still don't use it every day. I allow myself that space on occasion to sort of sort through some heavy stuff and then step back away from it. So it's not even a journal that would be a daily sort of maintenance thing for me anyway. So, but I do hear from a lot of people that that was the kind of journal that they thought journaling needed to be, and that they did that successfully at some point. I've heard that they attempted it and just didn't know what to write and so walked away from it. I've heard that they started it and it got scary. You know, the words coming out of them, they had this sensation that if the people that I am working through this problem about read this, it would be really embarrassing or problematic, and that kind of shut them down. So yeah, I think that's a really heady kind of journaling, and I am here to offer you the concept that it is a type of journaling, but it is not the answer to journaling. And in fact, when we looked up journaling definitions, while it might have said a diary, it did not say your deepest insights, your deepest honesty put on paper daily for all the world to see. Not a part of the journaling definition. So there's that kind of journaling. I know that a lot of YouTubers are like me, are Hobonichi fans, and or whatever it may be, Sterling ink, and so they do what we call daily pages, you know, so kind of some daily journaling in there. That kind of journaling I really enjoy, and I do find time for it daily, but I do offer this warning, such as it is, not that you need a warning from me, but again, feedback I get from people in person. You know, the most common thing that shuts people down is that Dear Diary concept, that I have to get really deep and honest with these pages. The next thing is dated daily pages, because with a date on it, right? If you miss 3 days, there's what's called backfilling, which is its own issue in the world of journaling. So suddenly you feel beholden to the 19th, 20th, and 21st that didn't get any love, and it's now the 22nd, and you feel this pressure to backfill those dated pages. All I'll say about that is that in the world of journaling, I have discovered that many people have arbitrary rules. So what I mean by that is they are self-set rules about what this looks like. The reason they're self-set is because there are no rules. There's no journaling guideline out there. There's no, this is how this works. You've created a set of parameters that you're trying to journal within. And if dated pages are making you cuckoo because you feel the pressure of a backfill to specific dates, how about undate them? Just put some tape over the dates. Washi tape, make it just pretty pages. Fill them with a few snapshots of your walk that week, you know, some couple little Polaroids. Stick them in, pretty day, Doesn't matter what day it was. But yeah, so dated dailies, I think that practice can wear people down. And what I'll say about that is that if that is wearing you out, don't sweat it. Just know it. And maybe next year's planner or the next 6 months that you decide to pick up, you just go for undated, so that those dates aren't lingering out at you. But daily pages and that feeling that we need to backfill can get homeworky. And I've heard from many people that has kind of shut down their daily journaling, such as it is. I'll show you my Hobonichi, and I am doing a really nice job of keeping up with it daily. It's to me, it's a relatively small space to fill in, so I'm just not struggling with it much. But yeah, I could see that pressure of that backfill situation. So just be aware of that. One of the journals that I love the most is a happiness tracker. And I do keep up with this really daily, generally speaking. I've shared this with you guys here many times before, where my happiness tracker is not a task tracker. What's not on here are chores, diet restrictions, exercise, goals, things like that. Those are cool too, and another kind of journaling, but this one is about happiness, things that will bring me joy if I do them in any given day. So for example, kiss my dog, journal, collage, watercolor, sketch, read simple abundance, some nature time, some prayer time, a paint lesson. I have some paint lessons online I'm taking. Laugh out loud, give a compliment, a gratitude and thanks moment. You get the concept. And that's an easy little journal, because all I need to do is pick a color for the day and start filling in anything along here that's happened. And I keep these easy. So one of the things on here is journaling. If I put a blue highlighter right here that I kissed my dog, I get to put a blue highlighter that I've journaled. This is journaling. So it's just a little gimme, easy, absolute simple thing. And I do try to keep up with him. And I will say this, if I've missed him for a few days, I'll backfill by going back into my Hobonichi dailies and flipping through and filling the happiness tracker in based on some notes I've left myself in my daily Hobonichi, which is actually really fun because it allows me to go back 3 days ago and go, oh yeah, there was some really fun. Oh, and we baked cookies that day. Bake is on here. So yeah, it's actually a really fun way to backfill for me. It doesn't feel homeworky if I've missed it, but honestly, I stay on top of it pretty consistently. This is my Dear Diary heavy duty thoughts notebook, and he's intense. He does not get time from me daily. I can't be in that space daily, you know, and I am working on maybe 2 super specific issues right now with my therapist that sprung out from a big triggering event. And yeah, so that's where I'm honing in on that. But boy, I do not jump into that every single day. I started a sketch journal recently, which I've never done before because I've never sketched before. And I'm not in him every day. I just don't have the artistic impulse to actually sketch every day. Last night, I just felt like moving the pen around, pages of doodles. So I just started some doodle pages and just had some fun scribbling some doodles around. That counted as my journaling practice yesterday. I was just sitting, we were watching a really good movie. Oh, I have to think of the name of it. It's an older movie, but it was so good. And I just was doodling, watching this movie with my husband. It was a really nice evening. That's journaling. See this broad spectrum of journaling. And I didn't set time in my calendar for doodling. It just, a pen appeared in my hand and I started scribbling away. This one I've shown you guys so many times. This is my Travelers Company passport size, and I call it my pocket brain. It has a lot of different things for me going on. To-do lists, maybe chores that I actually want to tackle, maybe just a few things I need to grab at the store on the way to work. So little to-do lists. And let me tell you, if I put pen to paper, if I write a little 3-item grocery list that I need to swing in and grab on the way up to the studio and then check that list off, I have journaled. I keep my definitions broad. That's what I'll say. And then this journal has room in the back. I have a notebook that's just full of quotes. So like I said, if I just am Googling a cool affirmation, or I see something, maybe you see something online, instead of screenshotting it or shooting it over to a friend in a reel. I thought I was gonna sneeze. Oh, I was. Oh my gosh, allergies are so bad here. Instead of taking that digital piece and just shooting it to a friend in a reel or something like that, I'll jot it down. What was the quote that I thought was so funny or so interesting? Put it into this little book. Voila, I have journaled for the day. Loose parameters about journaling. Watercolor in the morning. I'm trying to learn to paint clouds, and y'all, I don't even know if that's upside down or right side up. I think it goes that way. Like, I can't even tell what's upside down. Painting clouds, it turns out, is not something I'm very good at. And so I'm trying to teach myself painting clouds. And so a few moments in the morning, I just grab my watercolors are always set out in front of me, and just start blopping some paint down on paper while I'm sipping my very first cup of coffee. That little watercolor journaling. I have a book journal. Why would I write in this every day? I don't start or finish a book every day, and that's what this is. It's just a catalog of what I'm reading this year, maybe some quotes and some character names, things like that. And yeah, so I'm in and out of this. These were two great books, by the way. The Familiar by Leigh Bardugo, I loved it. And then The Bookbinder by Pip Williams, and her other book is The Dictionary of Lost Words. I loved this so much that I bought that. I'm gonna read that one down the road here. Oh, sorry, I'm getting off track. I just started this week, dreadful. So see, there's nothing on it, and there won't be until I finish the book. I do tend to flag pages. I'll show you that. I flag pages as I'm reading, so that then when I want to put something into my book journal, then I can go back to that page and I'll read the page that I flagged and see what part of that quote jumped out to me that made me want to flag it. And then I'll write that into the book journal down the road. So it's kind of a fun way to revisit the book after I read it. I think it kind of sets it into my mind better too. I mean, that's nonsense. I don't think that, I know that. When I read this book, flag these pages, go to my book journal, sit down with a pen, write in some of the quotes that I flagged. I relive that book a little bit. I write down the character names, and then it kind of anchors that book into my memory in a much better way. And 6 months from now, when somebody asks me about this book, I'll have some recall on it. But even if I didn't, I got a journal about it that I can take a look at. But yeah, I'm not in that book journal every day. I'm there when there's something to write about a book in there. So all of these piled up are what keep me in a journaling practice every single day. Some version of this is touched by these hands every day. Let's talk a little bit about that definition of journaling. As I said, what I hear from most people who tell me that they have like a very single idea about journaling, it's that super deep dive, therapeutic, Dear Diary kind of concept. I'm going to move this a little bit because that is so crooked. And I'll tell you a few things that have been told to me about people who had journals that don't journal anymore, because these are almost cautionary tales, I want to say, to journalers out there. And these actually hurt my heart a bit. I think about these three women and the stories that they've told me about their journaling experience a lot, actually. I think about them sometimes daily. I don't know why that looks so crooked. Let's just take it out of there. My shelf looks really crooked behind me. Okay, here's one of the most heartbreaking answers I've had from somebody recently about why they don't journal. And it is that they were forced to journal by a dietitian when they were in a very restrictive weight loss program. And it was at a time that they were really struggling with their weight, both for health purposes and mental health purposes. Their self-esteem was down. And so they got in with a dietitian who was very hardcore, and they had these very specific goals, and they were tracking every single day, every macro, every gram of food that went across their mouth. They were writing it down and were told that that was their journal. Now, according to the broad definition of journals, as we've seen on my computer, sure, that is a type of journaling. Of course, it is a catalog of, it is a collection of information. But wow, What a tough journal to keep. And then if that diet failed in some way, it didn't work, she somehow felt like she didn't complete the task that was assigned to it, that whole thing just kind of funnel clouds into this vortex of journaling is not enjoyable. That type of tracking, I think, can be really beneficial in the right setting. And I also think a lot of us use that in some way for motivation, track that we did yoga 3 times this week or whatever. I don't think there's anything, I don't need to condemn that type of tracking, but it is really, really focused and I think hard, frankly. That's the word I'm going to use. I think that's a really hard kind of journaling and tracking. And if it were the only kind of journaling there is, no one would journal. The journal industry would fall apart overnight. There simply wouldn't be any reason to buy a beautiful dot grid, linen covered, gold embossed journal to write down macros every day. Yeeks. And I've shown her some of my journals to kind of just say there's some other styles out there. I don't know if she'll ever come on board, but I hope that she will, because that is a kind of journaling, but it is not journaling. So another story that broke my heart was that someone had a daily diary that was pretty heartfelt truths, that kind of stuff, and her husband stole it during a divorce and handed it to his attorney. Now, granted, obviously none of that can be used. That's not admissible, but it was a huge violation, and it turned her off of the concept of putting pen to paper ever again. I hate that story so much. I hurt for her every day that I think about that story. And I hope that she'll find a way to heal through that, because I think that this space, I think that these pages, I think that this outlet is so incredibly valuable to who we are, and to our human experience, that it really hurts my heart to know that there's someone out there who has completely shut that down as an avenue because of such a violation. What a trauma. And so that one really crushes my soul. But another one that I heard years ago from a woman, and she's repeated this to me, she's actually not the only person to tell me this, and we've talked about this here before, but a lot of you guys are new here, is that she decided to try to keep a kind of dear diary where she wrote some thoughts every day. And that what happened is she went back, a month into her journaling practice or whatever, and reread them and was mortified. It was so cringy. And her own words are, I sounded like a lunatic. She's actually said that to me, and she threw it away. That also breaks my soul and my heart for a lot of reasons. But I've had a lot of women tell me that they started to journal and then they recoiled from it. They looked back at their own words and were like, "Gul, what am I doing?" And I actually have a class in my journaling series at my studio. One of our classes is breaking through stage fright or the fear of journaling. Sometimes the stage fright comes because the journal is so beautiful and we've spent $40 on it and we just can't crack into it. But a lot of the stage fright comes from our own fear about putting truths on paper. And if you've had a violation, you could see where that would stem from. If you have kids that might read this journal one day, I could see how as a mom, you might be a little like, I need to get this out, but boy, I really don't want my son to read this because I love him very much, right? We all get the idea. But when it's our own judgment against ourselves, gosh, that hurts my heart. Why are we so hard on ourselves? Why do we judge ourselves so harshly that we dare to have these thoughts, or dare to be melancholy for a moment, or dare to have our feelings hurt for a moment? That one really burns me because I know for me personally, there is no one on the planet who is more critical of this human being sitting here than me. And I work hard to let go of that self-critic. I've done so much work to let go of that. And I just know so many women who struggle with that. And I hate that that is the thing that self-critic is the thing that's shutting down the joy of journaling for some people. And if that is you, FYI, you are not alone. Gosh, there are so many who get stuck in that. And what I'll say about it is, one, give yourself permission to be a human being. Human beings are emotional and they have bad days and they think crappy things about other people and they say rude things and they get hurt by things that technically probably shouldn't even affect them, right? That is totally cool. You're a human. And we are all allowed to be human. And one thing about that kind of journaling is it gives us the place to be human. And so maybe just give yourself that space in that room. But I will say, if that sort of cringy nature is happening, the question really we have to ask ourselves is, are we cringing because it's about somebody who might read it? Or are we cringing because we're the ones who are reading it and aren't loving what's coming out? And that's for you to answer for yourself and maybe work on that from one way or the other direction. I definitely highly recommend getting with a counselor, getting with a journaling coach, working with a therapist. You could even call a therapist and say, I want to get kind of an open journaling practice going, but I find myself feeling super cringy or super locked down about it. And I'm wondering if you can help me break out of that a little bit, because what that's rooted in really are some other things, aren't they? Like my self-critical nature is rooted in a lot of other things. It's rooted in perfectionism. It's rooted in some childhood neglect. It's rooted in like a lot of other things. Yeah. So if we can get to those, but I think the biggest takeaway from all of it about journaling in general, the thing that hurts my heart the most is like the woman who said, "Oh, I will never journal again. I had to do that for a diet." Wait, what? That's not the only kind of journaling. And I was laughing with my class recently and told them that when I hear that from somebody, that they tried to journal once and hated it and will never do it again, that for me is the equivalent of you telling someone that you don't read because you read a book once and it was awful. Like, wait, was it a novel? Was it fiction? Was it a biography of somebody that you're not interested in? Like, there's so much to that world. We can't just shut down reading because we read a bad book 17 years ago. No, we got to open it up. And that is how I feel about journaling. We have to open it up. It really hurts my heart when I'm told that someone won't journal because of a single use experience with journaling. But I also hear from a lot of people that they feel like they can't find time and they want to know from me how I find time. And my short answer is, the long answer was, it's not about time management. It's about variety. Give yourself permission to consider any version of pen to paper, paint to paper, stickers to paper, a journaling practice, and find 5 minutes, standing in line at Starbucks, jot down a quote off your phone with ink onto paper, and you have journaled for the day. There was something else I was going to mention about variety, but we're going to do some overhead and we'll take a look at a few of these style journals that I have going just for some inspo. If you've been here before, you've seen some of these. Of course, some of them have expanded and changed a bit as well. But I also am going to do a favorite things episode probably next week. Where I'll show you some of my absolute favorite journaling supplies. And one of them is this bag here. That's my carry-all, and it's my journal bag. I keep all these little journals in it. I don't keep my watercolor in it because that stays where my watercolor is, but all these other ones I throw in there, and then I just cart it around. It goes to work with me. If I have a quiet minute, I can pull something out and work on it for a second, but I like to put it by the couch at night as well, so that again, if I just get that kind of feeling that it's time to put some stickers on paper or whatever, I can do that. Broaden those ideas of what journaling really is for you and what it needs to be. And then if there are hard rules that you've set for yourself, how about a journaling exercise where you write down what those rules are and why they matter? Is it even of real relevance? Who set that rule for you? For those who've suffered from a violation, I think there's still a video on this channel where I talk about actually hiding journals, like how to do that. And I was going to mention too, if your shutdown is your own voice, I hope that you'll work on that. If your shutdown is fear that it's going to be read by somebody else, and one thing is to just not put it in something bound, write it on a loose piece of paper, wad it up and throw it away. It's so cathartic to get some of those things just out on paper. I don't know that you do need to reread them 10 years from now or leave them in a box where they might be discovered in 40 years. Maybe you can just write them out and throw them away. I don't know that you have to keep a journal entry for it to count. Yeah. So loosen the parameters. It's not about time management. The name of this channel is Journals for Breakfast. I will say that also within my journaling practice is a little bit of time management, just in that I worked really hard to rearrange my lifestyle and my schedule to give me a lot of room for the things that I need to keep my mental wellness in check. And that includes art and creativity. It includes time to watch my favorite Patreon. It includes time for journaling. Where do I find that? And one thing is that I found a pocket of time in the mornings that I protect very carefully. I don't know what I'll do in any given morning with my coffee. It could be paint, it could be happiness track, it could be read Simple Abundance. I don't have any real rules about what I do, but I do something every morning with my coffee, and I do protect that time and created that. So I walk out the door with some journaling practice already in play. However, if for some reason I didn't, I had to jump out the door and just go, I will find it throughout the day in some way because of this variety of others. I shared here in episode 1, and if you want to go back and watch episode 1, it explains a lot about why this journaling practice, how I redeveloped it, rekindled it over the years, and why burnout was the answer. I was just so sick with burnout. And I had found a video on YouTube, and it is linked in that first episode on this channel, where the woman did some time management. And what she did was just set an alarm to get up 30 minutes earlier than the rest of the house so that she had this 30 minutes of quiet before everything else started. And I do think that that is a good answer for some people. I just also want to be clear that it also is not a good answer for some people. Some of us have so much going on already that adding another 30 minutes to the morning just feels impossible. And if that's you, that's okay. You can find other times for it. But she discovered that if she got up 30 minutes earlier, it gave her a half an hour to do something that this phrase that I have coined here, not coined, I've used here many times. She coined it, which is create before we consume. Consumption for me is digital. So iPad, phone, computer, that's the consumption. Create before I consume. So come in and blop some clouds on paper with a cup of coffee before I check my texts or before I log into social or whatever, right? Create before you consume. That's what her little 30-minute window was for, and she wasn't specific about what her creating was. I don't think we need to be anything. So a journal entry, a Simple Abundance reading, a doodle, a scribble, a happiness track, whatever it is. It's just not digital. That's the consumption. And that practice has served me so beautifully. So, but that again, I protect that time. Like when I joined a gym a couple months ago, I was really careful to find one that offered workout sessions in the morning that would work and not cut into that. I didn't set myself up for a 6 a.m. workout because it's just going to dive right into that really precious time for me. So I am protective of it and find that space for that. So that's the short answer on this. I'm going to do a little bit of overhead with some of these journals for you to see what you think about them, see if they inspire you. And so if you want to stick around for that, we will. And other than that, if you're just here for the answer is broaden the definition. Ask yourself what your journaling practice needs to be and why you have that delineation of this is it and only this is journaling, if that's what's happening. And ask yourself if you can loosen those borders. Are those rules created by you and only you? Then they can be changed by you as well. And broaden out the concept of journaling a bit for yourself and see if you can make that a daily practice. Okay, let's go to some overhead for those who are sticking around for that. This is the Archer and Olive I showed you guys recently. It's a linen cover, 8x8. Gold foil kind of embossed of books, glasses, and a cup of coffee or tea. I've been using this as my sketch journal, and I've never done a sketch journal before. I've never sketched before. I love this journal. The linen cover is a little tricky for me because it attracts fuzz and dust and stuff, but such is life. And I'll give you a warning that my sketches are messy. So if you are prone to finding your heart rate increase in the world of messiness, this will not be a good glimpse for you. I had super big time stage fright with this journal when I got it. I just couldn't break the ice. So I got out a stencil and stenciled in. I put in some photos and some washi tape. Then I started doodling, just rando doodles. Then I started doing a little bit of journaling. Then I put some photos in, and then I started to sketch. Yee, what a mess. But you get the general concept there. These are dot grid pages, and I've really loved them for sketching. They hold up so well. The ink doesn't bleed through. I did some watercolor pencil, which I don't love. That's what I used on this particular stack of books right here. I like the black and white a lot better. Yeah, just sort of teaching myself to do some sketch journaling. And now my pages are starting to get a little cleaner, which is nice for me and for you. And then, like I said, last night, I want to do these still lives, but I don't know if I'm quite there yet. So last night I just started some doodle pages, and it was just, mindless kind of doodling, and it just kept my hands engaged and really nice. So a kind of journaling. If that's all I did last night, I count it. I journaled yesterday. So a sketch journal, I hope you'll consider that as a possibility, even if you do not consider yourself an artist. I am not an artist. I've never taken an art class. I took a watercolor class at JU in 1989. Okay, so if that counts, great. But barring that, I'm just watching YouTube videos and also just making a mess and not being upset with myself that my coffee cup is squished. Just try it. It can't hurt. So a sketch journal. That's one kind of journaling that keeps me in my practice every single day. Happiness tracker. You've seen him a million times. I do big messy collages in here, and I do happiness tracking in here. And so it's a double resource for me. This is a place where I can have some fun with paper. And the day that I did this work, this was my journaling for that day. I really love making collage that has moving pieces, and I don't collage every day, not by a long shot. It is definitely, some days it calls to me and some days it does not. I like making pockets to slide things in and out. Collage is really a fun release. One thing about collage I've shared with you guys here and also in my journaling classes, it's the first artwork that I ever got into that didn't have any purpose. I'm a knitter, and so much of my crafting for the last 15 years, knitting is pretty purposeful. I'm making garments I'm going to wear. That's not what's happening with collage. With collage, I just stick pretty things together and fill my eyes up with pretty sights, and I love it. I don't have to learn any skills. I just collage and do my thing, and I just really enjoy it. I think it's just a really fun practice. It's also a cool resource for all those little scripts and bips, little bits of paper, little bits of washi, favorite tapes, things like that. Paintings that don't go super well, just create some good background color for it. So I really love playing with collage. I don't think there are any rules to it, which is what I love about it as well. Like if you're painting a scene, right? I mean, there's some rules. It needs to some degree to look like that scene. Whereas collage, I just stick stuff to stuff. I really have fun with this. This is really a lot of fun. Yeah, these are paint chips. I think this is two sides of a paint chip from the hardware store. Listen to the whispers in your heart. And I change her out sometimes. I flip the other side over, just depending what I'm wanting to see. So yeah, really fun. And then here's another blank setup for me to do some collage. And then here's my May happiness tracker. And I write down all the things I'd like to do in every single day if the world were a perfect place. Kiss my dog, journal, collage, watercolors, sketch, read simple abundance, have time in nature, have prayer time. Nature color aware means I actually stopped to take a look at how the sky and the trees were looking next to each other to sort of snap that image in for painting later. An online paint lesson, ask more questions, laugh out loud, give a compliment, gratitude and thanks, bake, read, rest, tidy, try a new recipe, knit, check on a friend, vitamins, pause, gym day, Phillies win. I try to do as much of these in any given day as I can. You can see there's blanks. Not everything happens every day. I don't knit every day. I don't watercolor every day, but I kiss my dog every day. And basically I journal every day. And this is sort of a cheat because if I filled this in, this should be filled in. If I filled in my happiness tracker, I journaled. So yeah. And these just lined paper that I just come across and create the grid for each month. So happiness tracking, really easy type of quick journaling. Let's look at this watercolor. I have a lot of watercolor journals going right now. I have shown you guys the project that is going on online from February 25th of 2025 to February 25th of 2026 is 100 Tiny Treasures. And I've been really having fun with that, just creating different little tiny paintings. I tear a piece of watercolor paper into like a 3x3 square and glue it in. And that's my canvas, such as it is, and then do a tiny little painting. And as you can imagine, this is pretty easy to keep up with daily because there's not much to it. Like this one I did over the course of, I think, 3 or 4 days. So I worked with the sky, then I worked with some of the water, then I worked with some of the greenery. So it built itself over time. I've really been having fun with this, but I took a pause on it because I felt like my painting started to go south on me. Somewhere in here, I start to get some weird results. Not that like the results of this are really what matter, but it started to go weird. Look at those, got kind of creepy. I don't know what's happening there. So I took a little break because I was feeling like I was losing it a little bit and decided to focus on some skies. And then when I decided I was going to focus on skies, I actually just stopped here for a minute. We need to have 50 tiny paintings completed by August to be on target with getting 50 more completed by February. Like 6 months and 6 months, I guess is how I have that in my head. And this is number 38, 39, 40. So I'm well ahead of schedule to actually get 100 done in this year. So I decided to stop painting in that for a minute. And what I did instead was come in and just started creating color swatches. And frankly, it's been a lot of fun. I've really loved this. And if I am putting paint to paper, I am journaling. I can mark off journal in my happiness tracker for that day. It doesn't have to be a painting. Just paint on paper is a journaling practice. And so I just came in and started making color swatches and really had a good time with it. And then I decided to try a few different skies. And then created this sky, and he was pretty fun, but he's not very realistic, obviously. That's quite an impressionistic sky over the water. So I wanted to try to get more realistic skies going. I really like this painting, the condos on the beach and kind of some greenery here. I really like how this turned out, but then they start going weird again. So I've been watching some artists online to try to figure out. I was following a methodology from an artist online this morning. Obviously, I did not get great success with that, but that's okay. That's how it goes. I do like that one. We'll finish on that. So a little bit of watercolor in the morning, journal, check, donezo. Oh, this is a sketchbook that was a gift, and it is Kilimanjaro watercolor paper. I really like it. It's good paper. Yeah, I really like it. I don't know what its combo is, but we could look that up if you're curious about it. So also, I'm one of those people who will tell you that painting on good paper is making a difference in my watercolor. I didn't think it would matter too much, but it really does make it a lot more enjoyable. My little Pocket Brain Traveler's Notebook. The cover from this is from Windrose Custom Goods, and I have a really fun thing happening with her that I'll tell you about in our next video. I'm super excited about. This is a combination of Traveler's Company passport size notebooks, but I have a variety of them in here. Like this one is from the Traveler's Company. It's their blank calendar. And I just do some collage stuff on it to make the covers pretty. This is also from Traveler's Company. It's their craft paper insert. So you can see that's from Traveler's Company. And I've just been doing a kind of ongoing to-do list, things, crafts I might want to try, little quotes to myself. Let's get a grip on some things. I said, let's do a rain dance and put this little rain sticker in there. And do you know, it worked. We got rain on Sunday, and it's supposed to rain every day here for 2 weeks. I did a little sketch in here of my coffee, and we made donuts in our workshop on Saturday. That was the class that we taught on Saturday. And then I've got this little pocket from Traveler's Company that helps me keep some things together. And then I've got this beautiful notebook, which is actually, I'll show you her name. This is from Just G Paper Company. I got a journal ephemera pack, and then I also got 2 of her, this order, I got 2 of her notebooks in the passport size. She makes these notebooks with this pretty paper. See, there's black, heather gray, pink. She's got all these really pretty papers in there. There's even rice paper. She's cool. She's out of California, and she ships really quickly and responds really quickly. Just G Paper Company. So I've ordered a couple notebooks from her, and they're just fun to have just some different materials, kind of mixed media within this space. And so I've been using this for writing down quotes. I pulled this choices card from our tarot deck and did a writing about that. So these little entries, like these were 3 different days. This did not happen in one day. This was a day, this was a day, this was a day. Actually, the stickers were a day. I just put some stickers on either corner one night while we were watching a game. Journaling complete. Yeah, so I just really keep those parameters loose. And then I showed you guys this. Actually, I need to update him. These are books that I'm currently reading so that if I'm out and about and somebody asks me what I'm reading, I can answer the dang question. My memory. And actually I need to update it. I just finished Quicksilver and started Dreadful. So I'll update him tonight while we're watching the ball game, and that will be my journaling. If I had done nothing else, that would count for today. Windrose Custom Good is who I got my leather case from, and I am so excited because I have a new case I've ordered that is coming for my Hobonichi, and we will do a video for that. We're going to do a favorite things and set up my Hobonichi for the July-December run, and I will show you that notebook cover. Right now, my Hobonichi is definitely a daily for me. I've had no trouble keeping up with him every day. Here's our month at a glance coming into June. Then I usually have a pencil board on the weekly, and I don't know what I did with that pencil board. I think it's sitting someplace else. Here's my weekly. What a mess, but I'm a mess. That's who I am. This is this week, actually, so not so messy yet. So like tonight, if I'm just goofing around, or, you know, one night this week, if I just find myself kind of fidgety, looking for something to do, then I'll throw some stickers in here and pretty up this week a little bit, like I did in here. I just put all these fun food stickers in, and this cool guy with his dog. Yeah, so just kind of fancy that up. Then there's my dailies. This was yesterday. Today is Tuesday. Is today Tuesday? Yeah. Today's Tuesday. So pretty. I just had some fun putting some pretty stickers in. I've had no trouble keeping up with the dailies in this Hobonichi, but I pop into it a couple times a day. These are entries that would have happened, like this might have happened Friday night that I put these quotes in. And then Saturday, I came in and did some notes about how I'm feeling since my infusion Thursday, and also how my mental wellness is going. I told you I've been working on a pretty big project there. Sunday night, I would have put in a few things, but Sunday morning, I probably did this little checklist. So I'm in and out of it, is what I'm trying to tell you. These probably happened in different sessions throughout the day. I probably went back and highlighted that on some day that wasn't even Thursday. I just enjoyed what I wrote there. So I have really loved the Hobonichi for a daily, and I'm having no trouble keeping up with it. But look, it's going to finish up on me in June. So we got to get the next round put together. I'm excited for that. So there's a type of journaling. My planner is analog. That is a journal. This is the guy that I'm doing some deep dive stuff into, and this is intense. I actually had to go in and highlight a few things so that I could actually talk to my therapist about the specific highlighted things. But I picked a notebook that was very simple in its cover. It's soothing and calming to me. And he's not huge. It's not intimidating. There's just enough in here to kind of work through whatever this situation is, and then it will be resolved and I can put him on the shelf. If I was worried about people reading him, I could throw him in the trash or burn him. I'm not, and I might reread him myself one day. And then, let's see, did we go through the book journal yet? This is the book journal, and I'm going to do something here. I read the book. I write down some of the characters. I write down some of my own thoughts about it. I write down some quotes. I usually do a rating, like 4 or 5 stars, and I don't see a rating on this one. Do you? I don't see it. But 5 stars because I went ahead and bought the other book, the Dictionary of Lost Words. I'm going to read that one too. I can't wait. And then I left room to fill in there and there for that one. Dreadful, I just started. What I'm going to do here is cover some of this up. So this is Quicksilver by Callie Hart, and I'm covering it up because I don't want to spoil it for anybody. 5 stars. I loved this book, and I cannot wait for the sequel. Absolutely loved it. I'm hiding that page because I don't want to spoil it for you if you're reading it or about to read it. So good. And there will be a second book coming out sometime in 2026, I think. Don't quote me on that. So book journaling, and I really love this process. Yeah, so it's just keeping the books relevant. It's anchoring them into my memory and letting me relive some of the best parts of those books, some of the greatest quotes and some of the greatest characters. So I'm really enjoying this process. But obviously that is not a daily journal setup, right? This happens when I'm reading a book. So that is like a little overview of just a handful of journals that's keeping my practice alive every day. As you can see, I do not restrict myself. And I think it's a really fun way to keep journaling engaging and alive every day. And this guy is who gets the most attention for sure. Probably these two. Happiness tracking is just so quick. And then because this is portable, because he's small, he goes with me everywhere I go. It's in the kitchen when I'm working, and I can always jot a little note in here, a quote in here, put a sticker in here, whatever it is I would like to do. So I think these two probably get the absolute most action. But to be honest with you, Hobonichi rarely sees a day skipped. That's the truth. If I do skip a day or two, it's an easy backfill for me on him. I haven't had any issues with that. So how about that for a journaling practice every single day? But it is in the variety that allows for the freedom. It sounds crazy. Like, wouldn't one journal be easier? But I think one journal actually just kind of traps us. And then we skip, and then we get pressure to backfill and refill. The variety for me is how I keep it alive and make it happen every day. Okay, so that was a view of many of my journals. How do I journal every day? I just don't pigeonhole journaling into one thing, you know? And the only people I know who do not journal, absolutely, like steadfastly will tell me, I will not journal. they are very locked in the idea of what a journal is and cannot seem to break away from that one thing. And that limitation is literally stopping them from journaling. So I think it makes sense that the fact that I don't have limits and have this big broad range of what it is also why I journal every single day. Not never, but always, right? That seems to balance out. So I picked a card for us today, and I didn't randomly pick this card. I went and found this card to read today. And the card that we're looking at today is Perfection. And you can see it's a beautiful image. The author, MJ Cullinan, she is the artist and the author, and she has a big affinity for crows, and I've learned a lot about crows by reading her website. But Perfection, let's take a look at the reading on this particular card today. As women, I think a lot of us battle this, but you know, my husband is a perfectionist and it can shut him down too. Perfection. We are like gardeners in the vast garden of life. Occasionally armed with shears, we become overly eager to snip away at the first signs of an unruly branch without realizing that sometimes the wild, untamed parts of the garden hold the most beautiful flowers. In our quest for perfection, we risk losing the charm of spontaneity and the organic growth that comes from just letting things be. It's in the imperfect, in the mess, where the real growth happens. By being so fixated on controlling every outcome, we forget that some of the best moments in life are unplanned, emerging from the chaos of imperfection. Though these experiences might seem flawed at a glance, they are rich with lessons and stories waiting to be discovered. Moreover, this relentless pursuit of perfection can be exhausting, draining the joy out of the process. Imagine if, instead, we embraced a philosophy of perfectly imperfect, accepting and welcoming the flaws and faults as part of the journey. This shift in perspective could open up a world of possibilities where mistakes are not just tolerated, but valued for the unique paths they lead us on. We often find our most creative solutions and inspiring moments through these unexpected detours. By allowing ourselves to be imperfect, we give ourselves the freedom to explore, to take risks, and to discover the beauty in the unexpected. Embracing the imperfect, we might just find the freedom to experience life in all its messy, glorious complexity. For those feeling stuck or shut down, perfectionism can be one of the places that lands. And trying to keep a perfect journal, a perfect Hobonichi, a perfect daily practice, there's just only shutdown waiting for that. Let it blossom, let it grow, embrace the imperfection, and have a really wonderful week. Let me know how your journaling's going. I'll be back with some favorite things next time. I hope you're well.